going on, everybody? Say It Out Loud Sports, episode 95. We're back. This week we're doing AFC. We did NFC last week. Now we got some AFC fans and creators coming over to talk about the Chargers, the Colts, the Raiders. I got Pete in the house this week. What's going on, Pete?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing all right, man. So this is the first week. Next week, the next 2 weeks is going to be our official Say It Out Loud Sports preview shows. I'm not sure how we're doing it yet, but we're going to be talking AFC, NFC. Our official predictions will be the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, it'll be exciting.
So before we get to the guests, let's talk. I mean, we got to talk some. We got to talk about Tim Tebow real quick because I know, and Bob's not even here to defend his boy,
right?
I wrote him today, and I was like, "How are you feeling?" And all he wrote was bummed. I could see him just sitting at work in his truck or his office, just pouting.
So I read an article today, and it said he should retire. But so I don't know. I haven't watched any preseason games. I'm going to be honest. I've been a little behind the eight ball. Came off vacation, so I'm trying to catch up here. But what happened with Tebow? Fill me in.
Nothing really. It was expected. We kind of touted. We kind of played with the idea of him being comeback player of the year, or at least I did.
Right.
Catching a few touchdowns, but the overall thing with Tebow was he's not gonna make the roster, and people were freaking out.
Yeah. And
he got cut first wave. The big thing that I saw was some block he went to make.
He didn't. So I saw that.
He did his job. I mean, he didn't. You don't have to lay every single person out, which was people blew it out of proportion because it was Tebow.
Right.
Imagine if they did that to Kyle Juszczyk every time he made the
or
guy
Travis
go
Kelce
or whoever. Yeah. So that was blown out of proportion. But yeah, he didn't do anything I just think he wasn't good enough to make the roster.
What was the whole point then? Just to give him a shot, they thought he was that good, or?
Yeah, I think. I don't know.
It's kind of weird.
Create some buzz around the Jaguars. They already had the number one pick, so they would have had some sort of buzz, but
I don't know. Get it off Trevor Lawrence?
Get some pressure off him. It created enough talking points. So, they talked about the Jaguars more than they would have if they didn't sign Tebow.
Yeah, right. What were his odds? 100 to 1?
What?
To catch a touchdown pass?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that. No, it was. I don't know, actually. I don't think it was that bad.
No, it was somewhere up there.
100 to 1?
I don't know.
I thought it was 15 or 20 to 1.
Either way, he's getting cut.
Either way,
so those odds are out.
Bob's sad. We'll talk to him about that. We'll let him.
Imagine if you put a bet down on that. If you're that excited. But I know Bobby was excited about it. He was going to put his house on it.
I hope he signs with the Eagles or something. Just
right?
for entertainment. Our entertainment.
Right.
Another thing I wanted to bring up was Tyreek Hill and Usain Bolt. I just remembered this right now.
Yeah.
What is it? So Usain Bolt's going to put up his Olympic gold medal, but Tyreek Hill has to put up his Super Bowl ring?
Yeah, why?
That's dumb. Just race.
Yeah. How about that? For money.
I guess
for charity.
Put some
do a charity event.
Yeah, I'd watch it.
Yeah, or something. Why are you trying to, come on,
take his Super Bowl ring? You can't be I won the Super Bowl. Because you're not an NFL player.
Well, I guess it's bragging rights. But if you're Tyreek Hill, I'm not getting rid of that. And if I'm Usain Bolt, I'm not getting rid of mine. I'm not offering that.
Yeah.
But, I guess that shows the level of confidence with Usain Bolt, right?
Yeah, I would think Bolt's going to beat Tyreek Hill.
You would think.
Yeah, but you never know.
In a 40.
Yeah. Or 100. Was it a 40 that they...
Well, so I think Tyreek said, you run the 100 meters, but I run the 40-yard dash or whatever it is. He's like, that's my thing. So I don't know the stipulation behind the whole sprint or race or whatever.
I don't know, but I think the whole betting on it with your rings and Olympic gold medals is kind of dumb. People, if you're broke, then you got to auction them off. There's people that have done that before.
Right.
But Tyreek Hill's in the middle of his playing career. I'm not putting up my Super Bowl ring. And I'm definitely not putting up an Olympic gold medal to a guy that could potentially beat me, maybe. I don't know. He's confident.
He's one of the greatest sprinters of all time.
Yeah.
Come on, Tyreek. You can just settle down a little bit.
What else we got? Anything else that we could touch on before we get to our guests?
Well, no, because we're going to talk Colts here soon, right?
We're going to talk Colts, Raiders. We got the Raiders first.
That's really the most exciting thing, I think, going on right now. It's just they're in shambles.
The Colts?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
The quarterback situation, but...
I'm hoping this guy's delusional.
Yeah.
And he's Colts are going, 12-5 with or without Wentz, and he pumps. I know he's pumped. He likes Jacob Eason. I suggested to him that we trade for Trubisky, and everybody hates Trubisky. I love him. All right.
Yeah, I don't know why you love him.
It's okay. We'll get to them in a minute. Preseason, you didn't watch much. You're out of town. I didn't catch a ton of them. Justin Fields looked really good.
Okay, yeah, I saw some highlights on that.
A lot of people were he was making easy, his touchdown pass. It was wide. The play design was beautiful. Like the guy was wide open. Like you could have made the pass.
Yeah.
You just can't overthrow him. He looked explosive though, in my opinion.
Nasty.
Like his running. Once he got out of the pocket, he's fast. Trey Lance looked okay. He had a 180-yard touchdown pass, right on the money. And he had a few drops, but I still think Garoppolo's he has to be the starter. There's no way Lance. Like Fields should be the starter in Chicago is evident. I don't know if Chicago's going to make the right decision when it comes to that.
Right.
But I think Fields gives their offense a whole. Obviously,
They're
gives
starting freaking Andy Dalton.
It gives them a whole.
How many games? Over under how many games is that last?
I'll give them 4.
4. That's what I was.
They went 3-0 last year and they pulled Trubisky. So once they realize Dalton doesn't give them the.
But what if Dalton starts out on fire and their defense is explosive? So what if they're winning like low-scoring games?
Dalton limits the offense, so that's my problem. Lance opens up everything.
Yeah, but I was kind of high on Dalton last year when he was with the Cowboys.
Yeah, I traded Julio Jones for me.
Freaking suckered me.
And then Mac Jones looked good.
Yeah,
Cam Newton could be in trouble, but I don't know if Belichick will pull that move either. Belichick's a fraud. I've been saying it forever. I'm going to talk about all this preseason and throughout the season.
He's a fraud. He had Cam Newton at quarterback.
He's the biggest fraud for the past 20 years.
Cam Newton's the biggest fraud.
I also don't like Cam, but
yeah, you can't win with a quarterback that can't throw.
Mac Jones looked decent. Like that could be a true battle. And then who's the other one? Obviously Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah,
he should be the starter. Minshew looked bad too. I didn't think either one of them looked great. Lawrence made some good throws. Like I think he looks the part. And then Zach Wilson. I didn't see much of him, but there's not really any.
Yeah, somebody made the comparison. Zach Wilson looked like who was it? Was it Baker Mayfield or something like that?
I mean, he is the Jet, so I mean, it's hard to look great.
Something like they were clowning on Zach.
I think he'll be fine. He'll be the starter though. That's no doubt. But out of those,
I'm pretty high on him. I think he's going to do well.
All right, let's welcome in our first guest. He's going to be talking about the Las Vegas Raiders. He's the CEO of Joe Morley Sports and part of the Warzone Sports Network. If you haven't followed them, go check them out. They got good things going on their YouTube page. We got Joe Morley on the line. What's going on, Joe?
What's going on? Glad to be here.
Yeah, man, you getting ready for football or what? I know you guys are heavy into that. All the rankings, everything you do over there at the Warzone Sports Network. What's your feeling on the Raiders this year? Do you like their offseason? What's the ceiling and what's the floor for them?
I'm looking good. We speak about the Raiders and then, hear sirens and stuff, so that's pretty cool. Fits right into where we're at. But, yeah, the Raiders, I'm really looking forward to them. I'm higher on the Raiders than a lot of people are, and people will be like, "Oh, you're just a Raider fan. You're biased." I actually consider myself a realist Raider fan. That I look at the team roster, I go up and down with them, and I actually think they're going to be a pretty solid team this year. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, what do you think their ceiling is as far as record wise? You think they can get to 12 wins, 11 wins? I know that division, the Chiefs obviously are the heavy favorite in that division for good reason, but the Chargers. Go ahead.
Yeah, ceiling. I don't know. I have them going. What 10-7 right now?
Okay.
Ceiling. I don't want to put a number on there, but yeah, the ceiling it could be a couple more games up there, but. If you want to go floor, it could also be down to 6 wins. But I have them going 10-7, which would put them in. I have them second place in the AFC West.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think that's too out of the question. It just depends on if which Chargers show up week by week, and then Denver, they look to be pretty much in the rebuild mode. But this is all about the Raiders. So I got a fantasy question for you. Which wide receiver on this team is going to be the one to own this year? Henry Ruggs.
Me personally, I'm going Brian Edwards. Everybody knows who Henry Ruggs is. We all expect Henry Ruggs, but even watching Henry Ruggs last year, Henry Ruggs was more used as a diversion tactic. The guy who went downfield, he does make those open big plays. But if I was drafting late round. Of course, you're not going to take any of these guys high. But if you're drafting late round and you want to take a flyer, Brian Edwards is the guy that I'm looking at.
All right. And then what about the running back position? Obviously, you brought in Kenyon Drake. Josh Jacobs has been kind of the workhorse guy. Is there any worry about Jacobs losing downs to Drake, or is it kind of still Jacobs' team, you think?
I still believe it's Jacobs' team. I think we'll see Kenyon Drake more on the third downs, more in the red zone. on passing down situations, because I think that's what they're going to bring Drake in for, is his ability out of the backfield. But I think they're going to work great together.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the offense. And then obviously Darren Waller. I know there's some injury concern, but I'm not really concerned. Are you concerned at all with Waller's history and missing practices and injuries?
I'm not concerned with the Waller at all, no. But I am concerned with if I was going to take him fantasy-wise, because I know a lot of people are taking him second round. I am a big Foster Moreau guy. And a lot of I know a lot of people are like, "Hey, calm down on Foster Moreau. You're building him up too much." He's the second tight end for the Raiders. But if you remember, before 2 years ago, he and Darren Waller, he actually stole TDs from Darren Waller. He was actually the guy in the red zone that was catching all these touchdowns. He did do it last year, at the beginning of last year, but then got hurt and was out for the rest of the year. He's back. He's 100%. He should be out there. So I'm good with Darren Waller, and I think he's going to be a great player, and everything's to him. But watch out for Foster Moreau as well.
Yeah, I agree. I was kind of on the Moreau bandwagon a little bit before. Like, I liked him, but Waller was my guy. But Moreau has the talent to be a tight end number one on a lot of teams, I feel like. So, not a bad take.
Yeah,
all right, my co-host Pete. I told him to come up with a question for each guy on the show today. So go ahead, Pete. You got the Raiders.
Okay, I got a couple questions for you, actually. So first one, do you think Raiders fans are the most annoying fans?
Do I personally think? No.
Yes, no. Who's the most annoying?
Dallas Cowboy fans.
Dallas
for sure.
Cowboys. All right, love it. All right, check mark. All right, Raiders ranked towards the bottom in defense last year. So do you think, what have they done to improve this year? And do you think they're going to rank towards the top, middle, or just be down towards the bottom, and you're going to have to rely on the offense?
Yeah, this has been the problem for since Derek Carr's been quarterback, is the Raiders have never had a defense that's worth anything. But yeah, I think they spent the whole offseason dedicated to this defense. They brought in Gus Bradley, who, if you look at his track record, is nothing but a top 15 defense in his everywhere that he's been in his career. The defensive line for these Raiders, I think, is very underrated. If you look on paper, they probably have one of the best defensive lines in the league now. The safety position, the back, the back's half of it. The secondary with Casey Hayward, with Abram, with Morik, Mullins, the young rookie the guy who's probably going to take the spot, Nate Hobbs, they're looking very impressive. They're looking quick, even in the first preseason game. Something that I saw is that we never saw from the Raiders defense before, or in the last couple of years that I remember watching, is when the ball carrier has the ball, there's 3 or 4 people around him already on defense instead of just one guy. And that's what the main thing that stuck out in the first preseason game.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah, you mentioned Abram. I know he got hurt last year, right? Early in the season, or was that the year before?
Well, his rookie year, he got hurt the first game, and then last year he was on and off. He was on and off, but yeah, he just needs to reel it down just a little bit, which it seems like that he has. Yeah,
I remember watching him his rookie year, his first game, and I was like, this dude's going to be an animal. And then like 2 plays later, he gets hurt. I was like, oh, that sucks. But all right, well, there you go. 10-7 is your kind of where your baseline's at. Sounds like. Thanks for coming on the show, and go ahead, let our listeners know where to find you at. Plug your pages, any shows you got coming up, and then we'll get you out of here.
Yeah, go Raider Nation. You guys can find me at the Warzone Sports Network, WarzoneSportsNetwork.com, Warzone Sports Network on YouTube. Look it up for the built by fans for the fans, so it's a great network. Just find me there, Joe Morty, and that's all I got.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate the time.
All right, thank you.
Take it easy, bro. All right, second on the mic, we got another one from the Warzone Sports Network. He works with Joe, Chargers fan. We got Mike on the mic here. He's on the mic, on the line. What's going on, Mike? How you doing?
What's up? It's good to be on the mic. It's more like on the headphones.
Yeah, that works too. I guess I'm on the mic. You're on the headphones. All right, man. Well, let's get into the Chargers, man. How we feeling? What's your, do you like their offseason? What's the ceiling for this team, and what's the floor? What are you feeling?
I mean, I love what the Chargers did this offseason. There was still some holes that I would like to see them fix, specifically the cornerback position. And I would have liked to have seen another running back be added to the running back core. I just don't want to see Eckler taking 350 hits this year. It's not going to be very much fun. But overall, they fixed the offensive line, which was the biggest issue last year. So, I mean, that mission is accomplished, and we can move on to the next goals in the next offseason. I just want to see growth from the Chargers. I'm not expecting a Super Bowl run this year, but let's see Herbert have a great year too, and let's see this team at least squeak into the playoffs. I think the ceiling is 12 wins, which would be absolutely amazing. I'll actually be kind of surprised they won that many games. The floor is as low as 7 wins, in my opinion. And I'm okay with anything within that range as long as the season is positive, because last year was so negative despite Herbert's great rookie year. Dumb coaching mistakes, just random stuff cost the Chargers probably 4 games last year. No Derwin James all year. So, yeah, I have a positive outlook this year. And of course, we got the new head coach in Brandon Staley. I'm excited for him. A lot of people don't know that he was actually a quarterback when he played, and he transitioned to defense as a coach. So I'm really excited about that, because at first I was like, oh, it doesn't make sense to pair a defensive-minded coach with a superstar quarterback, or someone who you look at as potentially a superstar quarterback. But to hear that news, I was very happy once I did more research on him. Overall, positive outlook.
Yeah,
positive outlook.
Yeah, Herbert's going to be a monster. I mean, that's kind of the narrative going into the season, and hopefully continues that trajectory, going up. And you mentioned the coaching change. I've been I'm not a Chargers guy. I'm a 49ers guy, but the Chargers head coaches through the years, especially Anthony Lynn, has been one of the has been a weekly topic on this show. I know we were calling for him to be fired multiple times, and I was like, there's no way this guy continues. And every week it seemed like he was just safe. And then you mentioned the offensive line. That's been a thing. Rashawn Slater, right? They got him in the 14th, 15th range?
They got him at 13.
13. So
13 overall.
And he looks like the real deal. I'm surprised he was on the board still. I thought he was going to go a little bit higher, but they addressed it, like you said. And
I was very happy.
And then Derwin James. I don't think he's even played it down, and he's been one of the, was a high prospect coming out. So I'm excited for the Chargers actually this year. I think they could do some good things. But yeah,
and another big one is the Corey Linsley signing. I'm excited to see how that translates to the win column.
Yeah, and then so I think it's a pretty fair assessment. Ceiling 12, floor 7. That should be about it's a big range, but I think that's fair because they could surprise some people. So fantasy question. So you mentioned Eckler. Right. They have so many options on this team being fantasy relevant. Herbert, Eckler being ranked top 5 in some spaces. I've seen, especially PPR, because he catches so many balls. You got Keenan Allen, a yearly top 10 guy. Outside of those three, though, who's a guy to own or someone to stash for a breakout season? I know Josh Palmer's floating around many circles right now. How are you feeling about a breakout candidate?
Yeah, stop saying his name. I'm trying to keep him under wraps. But yeah, him as a guy that you'd have to just stash on your bench because it's going to take a while and it's going to take injuries for him to get in there. He's going to be the 4th receiver to open up, assuming the starters are going to be Guyton, Williams, and Allen. I think Mike Williams is a guy to keep your eye on. You got to be worried about the injury issues that he's had in his entire career. Really, he hasn't been able to stay healthy. But when you look at his situation going into this season, it's a contract year. Justin Herbert and this Joe Lombardi-led offense is going to throw for 4,500 yards. All the stars are aligning for, if Mike Williams can stay healthy, his big year, his 1,100, 1,200-yard season. It's all lined up for him to do it now and go get his money. So that's a guy I will be keeping my eye on. And then sneakily, Jared Cook. Sneakily. He may be right at the edge of tight end 1 by the end of the year. We'll see. We know Herbert loved feeding Henry last year.
Yeah. The Mike Williams thing, I feel like I'm going to end up with a lot I've had him on my team the last 3 years, and every year it's back issues or he gets one ball for 58 yards and a touchdown, but that's it. So I'll probably end up with him because I do like the offense. So we'll see. All right. So my co-host, I had him get some questions ready as well for the Chargers guy. He's a Charger fan himself, so let's see what he's
Yes, sir. No, I absolutely agree with you. I think they're going to finish around 10, 11, 12 wins. I can agree with you on the floor, unfortunately, but I think Justin Herbert's going to absolutely ball out. My question was, pretty similar to Pat's. It was a breakout guy, but defensively, you said cornerback is kind of been our downfall for the last few years. Who do you think is going to step up and be that cornerback that just is lights out this year? Is it going to be Asante Samuel? Are you high on Asante Samuel?
Yeah, actually, I'm high on Asante. I've been to 2 camps, and I went to the scrimmage in SoFi they did a couple weekends ago. And all of those scenarios, Asante was keeping up with guys like Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Jalen Guyton, and some of the, third and fourth string receivers. So he looks good from like everything I've seen with him so far in the pros. Of course, we got to see more. He struggled a little bit in the preseason game, but he didn't really get that much playing time. So I am high on Asante Samuel Jr. I say I wanted him to add another corner because I don't trust Asante to step in and be cornerback 1 tomorrow. And I don't trust Chris Harris Jr. to be a true CB1.
No.
Yes, he does play up. He plays up to that level sometimes on plays, but when you look at him consistently, he doesn't have the pep in his step anymore that he used to have. I actually would like to see him play some safety also this year, but we'll see. So, yeah, I think Asante Samuel is a guy, and then, of course, Mike Davis. There's always the possibility that he's going to make a big play on any given play, but he's another guy where it's like hit or miss. He's usually inconsistent during the game. So I would say if I had to pick one of them, it would be Asante right now, based off what I've seen at least. Gotcha.
Yeah, I agree, man. And are you high on Kenneth Murray this year?
Oh, man, I'm so high on him. And I'm so glad that he's getting paired up with Staley and how good that's going to be for his development. And Staley has said all the things that I wanted to hear. The Chargers are trying to use Kenneth Murray as a coverage linebacker last year.
Right.
Kenneth Murray's strength is chasing down running backs. So they need to get him in the box, in the run stop, put him out there for plays where you're going to be able to send him on blitzes and stuff like that and be the freak athlete that he is. So I'm excited to see Staley use him, and I think he's going to use him similarly to how he used Leonard Floyd, which is going to be a lot of fun. He was all over the field last year with the Rams.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I hope this defense is improved, man. That's something that would be really good to see because in the middle of the decade, the Chargers had some pretty fun defenses to watch.
Right.
Yeah, that's going to be the key. We're doing our preview show next week, and I'm pretty high on the Chargers' offense. The defense is questionable, but I could see them getting to where 11-10 as well. So
yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I appreciate the time. Let's get you out of here, but first, go ahead and plug your shows. Warzone Sports and Mike on the Mic. Go ahead and plug them where our listeners can find you at.
Yeah, Joe probably just did it. Warzone Sports Network YouTube channel is where we're trying to send everyone.
Okay.
We've had a rapid growth. We hit that 1,000 subscriber mark in like a couple months, so we're really excited. We're really feeling good about what we're doing over there. We're putting up a video every day. Actually, I have a film room on Tua dropping in 15 minutes if you guys want to go check it out after this. But, yeah, so Warzone Sports on our YouTube channel. And if you want any of my personal stuff, it's Mike on the Mic Sports across the board. So Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, all that.
All right, you guys heard the man. Go to warzonesportsnetwork.com on YouTube or .com or check them out on YouTube. They got videos dropping every day. All right, Mike, appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
All right, our third guest is coming on. He's from My Guys Network, offtheballnetwork.com. If you haven't checked us out over there, go over there, offtheballnetwork.com. Tons of guys over there. This guy loves the Colts and hosts his own podcast as well. Stuart Brooken, what's going on? How are you today?
I'm good. How are you guys? Thanks for having me on. I'm excited. I've been waiting to get on your guys' show for a while. I'm glad we could finally do it.
Yeah, man. I know it's kind of last minute. Appreciate you coming on, but let's get into what we got going on the Colts, man. I know you're a Colts fan. What's your feeling on the Colts this year? A lot of stuff going on over there. Carson Wentz. What's your do you like their offseason? What's the ceiling for the team and what's the floor?
All right. So I think the ceiling for the team, I think Tennessee is obviously the best team in the division this year. So they're probably going to be a 12 or 13 win team. The Titans will. But going to the Colts, I think the high end for the Colts, they can win 11 or 12 games. Listen, everyone's going to talk about the quarterback situation. I was thinking about this, coming up, leading up to the show. Carson Wentz doesn't have to be MVP Carson Wentz. All he has to do is be 2019 Carson Wentz with 21 touchdowns and 7 picks, and the Colts will have a chance. That's it. He doesn't have to be MVP caliber. He just has to be good. We'll see if that happens. Now, if he plays abysmal and he's bad, I think the Colts will be, 8-9, 9-8. I think the team around him is too good for it to completely implode and to be a 4 or 5 win team. But I do think that the Colts are a team built to where to take that next step and to be a real contender, they're going to need at least decent quarterback play. And if Carson Wentz doesn't provide that, they're going to be a 9 or 8 win team and probably miss the playoffs.
Right. So when Wentz got hurt, the reports came out he was going to miss 5 to 12 weeks. Were you going in with Jacob Eason and I can't even remember the other guy.
Sam Ellinger.
Ellinger, yeah. I was thinking Steve Buechele, but either one of those guys, were you one of the guys that wanted to trade for a Gardner Minshew, a Mitch Trubisky, somewhere along that lines, or were you good with Eason?
Yeah, you had to be worried.
I think it depends. I mean, because when it first came out, we were hearing 5 to 12 weeks. So if it was 5 weeks, he was going to be back the week before the Seahawks game. And I think that's a very winnable game if you run Ellinger or you run Jacob Eason out there. I'm not trying to overlook Seattle, but that defense isn't the LOB defense. It's not the Legion of Boom defense. The Colts have a top 5 offensive line with a top 5 running game. So I'm not too worried about it. It was that 12-week mark. If he was, if the surgery didn't go well and he was in the back half of that 12-week mark, I was starting to get worried. Again, it depends. I wanted to see the Panthers game before I made any statements about them trading for anybody. Right now, after watching the Panthers game, I'm not. If we had to ride with Jacob Eason and Sam Ellinger for 5-6 weeks, I would say make a trade after what I saw. But I'm not saying that if Wentz is going to be gone until week 3, which is that Titans game, let's ride with them. We'll go 1-1 into the Titans game because I don't think we'll beat the Rams. And then we'll go into the Titans potentially 1-1 and have a chance to get above 500. That's where I've been on the whole thing is let's just ride it out, see where it's at, because you don't want to make any rash decisions. What if you trade, get Jimmy G, and then Jimmy G performs and falls out, and Carson Wentz comes back? Now you have to make a decision. Do we keep Jimmy G as a starter, or do we keep Carson Wentz?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I was, initial reaction, I was like, they have to trade for somebody, but I think a lot of quarterbacks have won games that aren't, top tier, and I think the Colts have a good roster, like you mentioned. So, yeah, fair point.
Yeah, and I mean, we're only talking about if he's gone for 2 or 3 weeks, roll with Jacob Eason. Like I said, if it was the 12-week mark and he wasn't going to be back to week 6, you make a trade for somebody.
Right. All right, fantasy. I got a fantasy question for you. Which wide receiver on this team? They got a lot. It's kind of a depth room. I feel like they got a lot of guys: Pittman, Hilton, Paris Campbell, some other guys, but there's no real standout guy. If in fantasy, who you riding with? Who do you think can have a good year? Is there a guy that can deliver a top 20 fantasy performance? Maybe I personally like Pittman, but I'm curious to see what you say.
On my fantasy teams currently, I have T.Y. Hilton. I think at the end of T.Y. Hilton's season last season, he looked like 2014 T.Y. Hilton, which was an over 1,000-yard receiver. He played really well. Carson Wentz plays very similar to him. But if I had to say a young guy that's going to pop off, I would agree with you. I would say Michael Pittman, but I would also say if he can stay healthy, it's going to be Paris Campbell because he's going to be that deep threat that whether it's Carson Wentz or whether it's Jacob Eason, they're going to be looking for him. And we saw it in the Panthers game. If you watched the Panthers game, there was a big bomb from Jacob Eason down the field to Paris Campbell. He can make those kind of plays, and he can be a guy that can get you a lot of yards quickly and a lot of long touchdowns to win some games. So for me, it would be Paris Campbell if he can stay healthy. Paris Campbell and T.Y. Hilton. Again, I have Hilton on my team, so I know people think he's washed up, and that's why they're like, let's go trade for a receiver or let's go draft a receiver. But I saw things at the end of the year that looked like 2014 T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, I remember he was putting up some points at the end of the year. And then last question I have before I get to my co-host questions. How are you feeling about the backfield? Obviously, Jonathan Taylor's been kind of a top 5 guy that's been talked about. The injury to Quentin Nelson, everybody kind of backed off him, and now they're back on him. Where are you feeling? Do you think Mac cuts in? Because when Mac's healthy, he's actually a really good back. And then you got Naheem Hines there with the third down back. So are you high on Taylor fantasy-wise, or just you want to see production on the field?
I'm high on Taylor fantasy-wise. Again, I have a dynasty league. I mortgaged half my franchise. I'm joking, but I gave up a lot to get Jonathan Taylor on my team because I think he can have a Derrick Henry impact for the Colts. I'm not going to say he's going to rush for 2,000 yards. That would be insane to say that he's going to put up the numbers that Derrick Henry put up. But I think, you get Quentin Nelson back, the Colts figure out that left tackle position. You could have a guy in Jonathan Taylor who could run for 1,700 yards and potentially 10 to 15 touchdowns, just depending on, where we are offensive line-wise And then Marlon Mack as well. Again, you mentioned it. He's a very good back. His first year that he played, if it wasn't for him missing 2 or 3 games, he would have been a 1,000-yard rusher. Then he comes back, plays a full 16 games, runs for 1,000 yards, and then missed all of last year. So you look at it, Jonathan Taylor, Marlon Mack, to me, are the top 2. And then even for a flex, Nyheim Hines, I would look for Nyheim Hines as your flex because he's going to get a lot of passes. That backfield's very busy, so he's going to get a lot of passes coming out of the backfield. He may even play some slot this year. So depending on the matchups and depending on week to week, I would look for Nyheim Hines to be your flex in some games.
Yeah, no, this team to me is one of the hardest to judge. Last year I was super high on them, and then obviously kind of injuries hurt them a lot. But we'll see how they go. We're doing our preview show next week, so I got to do a little more research on their schedule and who they play, when they play, things like that. But, yeah, I could see them being a playoff team for sure. So, all right, I'm going to shoot it over to my co-host, Pete, and he has a couple questions for you as well.
So, hold on. You got them as a playoff team.
I could see him finishing as like the 7th seed.
With Jacob Eason.
I don't know about that.
Listen, that first 5 weeks is tough. Those first 5 games, when the Colts start off with Seattle, then they go to the Rams, and then they play, Tennessee, somewhere in there. They play Baltimore. Like, even with Carson Wentz, that is a tough schedule. I think they're a playoff team because I think the back half of their schedule, they'll be fine. But if Jacob Eason plays more than 3 weeks, it's going to be a lot of digging up like we did in 2018 where we started 1-4 and then finished 10-6. If Carson isn't there by week 3 when we play Tennessee, there's, in my opinion, going to be a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah, and they get, my thinking in this too, they also get Jacksonville twice and Houston twice, which that if they lose one of those games, it'd be a big problem.
Right.
But I could see them going
but
forward.
But we always do. That's the thing is
they can't have
the
that
Colts
this year.
They always find a way to split one with Jacksonville, no matter how bad the Jaguars are. The Colts always split one with the Jags, and they always split one with Tennessee, and they usually sweep Houston. So it doesn't matter how bad Jacksonville is, at least one game they find a way to do it.
Yeah, I think if they're going to they got to go 4-0 in those games. Especially, I haven't looked at, like you mentioned the schedule. I haven't dove into their schedule yet, which I will do. But if they go 1-4, they definitely need to sweep those 4 games against them. So, all right, Pete.
100%.
Pete, go ahead.
All right. So the only thing I have is Jonathan Taylor kind of scares me in fantasy. So he's been slipping. But just because Marlon Mack, when he's healthy, he's a beast. But here's my problem. We got Jack Doyle still as tight end number 1, correct?
Yeah.
Do you feel like Mo Alley Cox has now, should he have that spot? And is he the guy that you take in fantasy, or do you still stick with Jack Doyle with, Jacob Eason being there?
Jack Doyle, when you let's look at Carson Wentz in Philadelphia with Zach Ertz and the tight end Dallas Goedert, the tight ends they had down there. There was a great relationship between Ertz and those guys, or Wentz and those guys. I expect the same from Jack Doyle. Here's the thing with Mo Alley Cox. As much as I love Cox, as much as he's played really well, the problem with Mo Alley Cox is he's relatively slow for a modern day tight end. When you watch him throw, if you go back to the Packers game, he had a catch last year where he was running and he was able to pick up 15, 20 yards after the reception. But he looked like, compared to everybody else on the field, like he was moving in slow motion. He just happened to break a couple tackles because he took, say, 250, and it benefited him. So I think if he can find a way to be more athletic or find a way to really kind of show some of his athleticism, then Mo Alley Cox will take over for Jack Doyle. But Jack Doyle is also a former Pro Bowl. So, Jack Doyle with Carson Wentz can be a dangerous duo for the Colts.
Got it. So my only other question is, do you actually like Cox?
No.
Let that one slip out.
Just Mo Alley Cox.
Yeah, I got you.
This guy's mind's in the gutter. All right, you good? You got any more?
So over under 9 games? That's where they're at right now. You're taking. So if you're betting, you have $100 that is burning in your pocket right now. Are you taking the over or the under 9 games?
Me, I'm gonna take the over. I think they win at least 11. Even with Carson Wentz, even if he misses 2 weeks, I think this team is a team that's really good. You get Carson Wentz back. Even if he comes back, you can still rely on Jonathan Taylor down the stretch until he gets his feet underneath him. I think this is an 11-win team easily. But, they very well could be 8-9 too if Carson goes down again. Like, they easily could win 8 games. But
right.
I think I'm taking the over.
All right, so you got ceiling is 12, floor is 8?
Yes.
All right, fair enough. All right, man. Well, that's it for this week. Thanks for joining us, Stu. Go ahead and I already mentioned off the ball, but go ahead and plug your shows, plug your pages. Where can our listeners find you at?
Yeah, my podcast is The Morning Brew with Stu. I like to describe it as a very brash, opinionated show. I have my opinions; they are my opinions. But I also admit when I'm wrong. I feel like nationally that's a thing that doesn't happen very often. You kind of forget that you said some takes and you move on. I like to admit where I was wrong. I like to use my things as a receipt. You can find me at Stu Morning on Twitter or at StuPoc5 on Twitter as well, and Instagram at Stu Morning as well.
All right, man. Well, thanks for taking the time to jump on the show, and we'll see how the Colts do this year, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
All right, 12 wins for the Colts, eh?
I could
see 9 or 10. But I think 9, 10
just
because
their defense and offense. I mean, their offensive line.
Yeah, if you have a top tier offensive line and a pretty good defense, as long as the quarterback doesn't turn the ball over a bunch, like Jacoby Brissett, if he was there, I feel like he played well this preseason though. But I feel like if you get decent quarterback play, you can get 9-10, and I think 9-10 could get that 7 seed. Because there's 7 teams now. Remember, before there was only 6. I would be like, there's no way. I think they could squeak out the 7.
I feel like if Marlon Mack stays healthy, they're going to be nasty. Like, that's going to be the 1-2 punch. That's why I don't really like Jonathan Taylor. Yeah, and then you got Hines. Yeah, he says he's going to play a little slot, but I don't know. It's just I'm not touching
sticky hands.
Not touching Jonathan Taylor.
I mean, I wouldn't take him where he's currently being drafted at, but late first round.
Well, so I just looked at it. It said what, 9th overall
in some leagues. Yeah, I'd take him 15-ish, 15, 16.
Yeah, if he's laying around.
Yeah, I think somebody's gonna take him early, but we'll see. All right, well, that's it for this week. We'll be back next week with our official. We'll start our official previews for me, Pete, and Bob. We'll give out who we like in each division, and then season's only 22 days, 21 days, 22 days,
exactly.
3 weeks. And then we got our locks coming out. Last year, I think we all finished above 50%, which is probably above 55%, to be honest. And if you don't believe me, go back and check. It's all documented. Every episode, locks of the week. I mean, my son finished at 60%. He's 7 now, so we'll be back with that.
He's just getting better.
Yeah, it's going to be wild. See if he can repeat that performance. So that's it for this week. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you guys next week.